All right, this is Renaissance Horizon with a special treat today. I've got Peter from the Czech Republic to tell us all about politics and what's going on over there. So how's
Uh,
it going, Peter?
Hi, Kyle. I'm doing great. And greetings to everyone. Thank you for having me.
I've never done a video just about the Czech Republic, but I've done videos about the Visegrad Four. I've talked about the Central European Defense Cooperation, the UN Compact for Migration. And so the Czech Republic has come up a lot as one of the countries that it seems like is fighting back against mass immigration. Would you say that the Czech Republic is doing a good job, or that they're any kind of leader in this fight?
Well, I think that we are doing a good job in terms of maintaining a public narrative of rejecting mass migration, the quotas, and so on. We are not in the spotlight because I would say Hungary and to a lesser extent Poland have been more exposed to the stream of migrants. So they have been forced to come up with very strong measures to counter this influx. Second thing is that in Poland or Hungary, their governments, they have ultra strong position. Like since the downfall of communism, there has never been government in either of those countries, Poland or Hungary, with such a strong mandate from the people. Here it's the politics is much more fragmented. If we are forced to take some stand, when pressured by the European Union, we can come up with some very decisive stand and say no decisively. However, when things are not, when the situation is not dire, politicians here, they tend to go back to their traditional squabbling, picking on each other, and so on.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
and
you're saying there's a lot of division because there's so many different parties
yeah,
vying for
precisely.
power.
Two things. Unlike Poland or Hungary, Czechs are more like they have a much more, I would say, peaceful nature. While Poland and Hungary, they are much more into the flag waving nationalism and just standing strong with the flag in the ground and having a clear position. Czech people, they are more like, I often compare us to hobbits from the Lord of the Rings, like caring about your little garden and not trying to evade the events of the big world. Yeah, the second thing is that we have our political scene is so fragmented and chaotic, it's never been this way.
How about the Freedom and Direct Democracy Party, which I think they won some seats in the EU, and they're part of Matteo Salvini's new identity and democracy group?
I have quite of a big problem with them. What they do is what they collect the let's say anti-establishment sentiment of the certain parts of the population. Certainly something like similar to Trump blue-collar workers voters in America, but they don't have the means. I don't think they don't even have a will to take some decisive action. The leader of the Freedom and Direct Democracy Party, Tomio Okamura, he's half Czech, half Japanese. He's basically like extreme opportunist. He what he did. He noticed that there is a big unfulfilled hole in the market in the political sphere.
So he's kind of saying the right things, but you're highly skeptical of him.
Yes, I'm skeptical of his motives. He's saying the right kinds of things, but he just, I would say, shooting from the hip, and he's saying the most, I would say, incendiary, outrageous rhetoric possible, but he doesn't bother with any fact checking and so on. So he, for the most of the population, he looks like a buffoon in this way. But I would say, if you are a conservative nationalist voter, you kind of, until very recently, you had no other alternative. Yeah, and there is a new alternative, which I think it may be even more successful than freedom and direct democracy, and will probably replace him in the Matteo Salvini's European Parliament group. And this new political party is called Tricolora, or which basically means the tricolor. And the previous president was Václav Klaus, and he was quite nationalistic, quite anti-EU, quite and libertarian sort of way. And his son used to be a member of the Civic Democratic Party, the traditional moderate right wing. But however, he was using quite a lot of incendiary rhetoric, and he was like a black sheep of the party. So he was kicked out, and he founded a new movement, this Three Stripe movement. And this Three Stripe movement is gaining a lot of ground, and I think it will be quite successful in the upcoming elections. And this new movement is basically like it focuses on, I would say, American South type of voters, which means like traditional family values and free market economics. And yeah, he focuses very much on protecting local communities in small towns and this kind of stuff.
That sounds interesting. Well, Klaus is one of the main guys fighting against the global warming hysteria for the past
he's very
couple
hated
decades.
for that.
Well, you got in Czech Republic, I think, the last significant political party that still calls itself communist. It's like Communist Party of Bohemia and Moravia, right? And why is it that they still use the term communist when all the other communist parties rebranded under new names 20 to 30 years ago?
This is a good question, because people still argue whether it was a good decision not to ban them after the overthrow of the communist regime. It's basically the legacy of the revolution itself, because the overthrow of the communist regime was the so-called Velvet Revolution, which was quite non-violent. Nobody died, and nobody even got severely injured. In my opinion, it wasn't a revolution at all. It was basically arranged. They basically arranged that we will give you the political power, and you won't persecute us, quid pro quo. And so, since there was no bloodshed or big turmoil in 1989, there was no big push for some sort of historical reconciliation with the communists, and nobody wanted to hang them on the gallows, to put it simply. So ever since, they had almost zero political power. I always say that being elected as an MP for the Communist Party is like the best thing that can happen to you, because they were just there taking salaries, taking benefits, and so on, while doing absolutely nothing. Like every time there was an election campaign, they just came to the countryside, to the old people who just voted for them because of tradition, and said, "Oh, we are here for you, for your social securities and so on." And so they always get their 12, 13%. And
So it's like
yeah,
the communist nostalgia party.
yes, spot
Which,
on.
how do the center left socialists rank in Czech Republic? Are they more like the socialists in Slovakia, or are they more like the extreme cultural Marxists from like Germany and Sweden?
That's kind of an interesting phenomenon, because I would begin this way. There is like a big movement among all the moderate right, which is sometimes not right at all, but that's a different story. Moderate right, even the modern new left, and basically there is like a big virtue signaling movement which aims to ban the Communist Party. And I always laugh at this because, for example, the reason why they hate the Communist Party, that's not because they are communists, but because they are national conservatives. And if you sometimes listen to the rhetoric of those, one of the few active, one of the few members of the Communist Party who are active in the social sphere somehow, their rhetoric is like, I would say, Bible Belt in America,
Okay.
socially speaking.
Okay.
But of course, the hardline evangelicals, they would rather better dead than red, and so on. But this is, I would say, fighting yesterday's battles. And of course, there are other leftist parties in this country. I will continue with the Social Democrats. They are the oldest party in this country, founded in the 19th century, and they are basically on their deathbed right now, because they've been the traditional left-wing party, mostly supported by workers and labor unions and so on. Let me put this way. The member base of this party is like traditionally left-wing, like the labor union Democrats type of thing, the Rust Belt blue-collar workers in America. And the leadership, the elites of the party, they are like, I don't know, imagine if you merge together Nancy Pelosi with Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. So this is the, I would say, the face of the Social Democrats. And so their voters, they have noticed this new, I don't know, their desperation of the party. And so one of the half of the voters have defected towards Andrej Babiš, and the other half defected towards the new left, which is basically represented by the pirates. Also interesting phenomenon. I will briefly comment on the Pirate Party as well. They have been created about 10 years ago as a sort of a techno-libertarian party. They basically focused on restricting internet censorship and fighting against internet censorship and freedom of speech and freedom of information access and government transparency and this kind of thing. But they have been gradually taken over by the Antifa rainbow crowd. So right now they have been catapulted into relevancy. They even gained the position of the mayor of Prague, and
Oh,
so
really?
now, yeah,
I didn't know that.
yeah, they really gained like rocket support in over last 2 years. So now they are the main force who is pushing this radical leftist agenda here. But their core support is basically um, young high school students and the, I would say, ideological bubble of the downtown Prague. The main chairman of the party has been active member of Antifa for many years, and it pissed off many people. So I don't expect they will be gaining any more ground in the near future.
Are the Antifa violent in Czech Republic?
Well, let me put it this way. This kind of fight between the Antifas and the nationalists and so on is like a closed, it's taking place behind closed doors. And the normal non-political citizen is really not exposed to their struggle. So they are mostly about the circle jerk and of self-righteousness. Generally, open violence is not a very common thing in this country at all. So I would say
sounds nice.
Yeah.
Are there still protests going on against Prime Minister Babiš?
Yes, but I think they are losing breath right now. Because before summer, like in June and so on, there have been like massive protests, like almost 500,000 people there, and it was quite clearly visible that he was like feeling threatened to an extent by these protests. He didn't know how to respond to them because even though he is a very capable businessman, he is kind of dull, and all his magic in the elections, he basically pays great money to a very professional PR team who creates his big image. But when he is exposed to questions on his own, he's like he never knows how to say clever things. Yeah, he was losing ground, losing certainty. But then the leaders of the protests they decided, we will halt the protest for summer. We will let people enjoy their holiday. And now, when they are trying to redo the protests, people are not interested anymore.
They're having a hard time.
So now they are having like 10% of the numbers they had before the summer.
Some people are crediting Babiš with bringing great economic prosperity to the Czech Republic. I even saw just this morning, I saw a list of the unemployment rates, or at least the official unemployment rates for each country in the EU, and officially Czech Republic has the lowest unemployment rate right now. Is that Babiš's doing, or is it something else?
This is like the magic of his PR team, because I think that he basically came in the right time, and he's like he jumped on a successful economic bandwagon, and now he is claiming. Basically, he claims of the successes of the economic growth of the recent era. He claims the achievement for his own, but I really think this economic growth would be the same, even bigger, without him, because What he has done in the past few years, he stifled a lot of. He hammers small entrepreneurs, small businesses with a lot of regulations and new taxes and a lot of controls from the tax bureau. So people here are very disincentivized from starting a business, and what he basically aims to do is to create more and more people dependent on the government jobs. So I would deny his contribution to this economic growth.
So you got Antifa over in Czech Republic. Is there any big youth movement for young conservatives or young identitarians?
Well, we have a local brand of generation identity. I'm personally affiliated with them. I'm not taking part in many of their actions because I don't have time, but I do translations for them, and they are pretty cool. But I would say that imagine that you are in America in 1980s. So this is like the situation here now, because the situation with the immigration stuff and so on hasn't escalated not nearly much as in the Western Europe or USA, and even the migrant crisis mostly evaded us. So we've been like the eye of the storm, basically, eye of the hurricane. So both Antifa and identitarianism activism here is very subtle and not developed compared to Western Europe. That in Western Europe, west of our borders, I would characterize it this way: that over there, across the border, it's almost impossible to be normal, non-political citizen. But here, it's still possible that you can just live your life and not be exposed to the effects of the modern left, the immigration and identity politics and stuff. But in Western Europe, you see it every day. And that's kind of my experience. I lived for 1 semester in Norway, and the effects of the clown world ideology.
Which city in Norway?
In Bergen.
Okay.
Yeah, they hammer you every day. Like even I would say, if you walk on a street of ordinary Czech city, it's like a very peaceful and quiet, and you don't notice anything abnormal. But for example, in Bergen, Norway, you see multiculturalism unfolding before your very eyes. Yeah, because in Norway, when I remember living there, just by walking to a grocery store, I saw more blacks and Muslims and so on than during my entire life in Czech Republic. So that's put simply the main difference.
Where should Americans go visit if they come to the Czech Republic? Should they go to Prague, or are there better things to see?
Well, I think that Prague is like the must-see thing. It's like inevitable that you will see it. So yes, it's very nice, but personally, I started to hate the downtown Prague because it's a tourist trap, and it's hideous there. because you always see just drunken English and drunken Germans there, and it's not nearly as bad as Paris or Rome and so on, but still this plague of modern tourism has taken its toll there. And if you go there as a tourist, try to focus on the architecture, try to get to some museum, to some church, and I would recommend you to spend more time in the countryside. I would personally venture to South Bohemia, where I live, because it's absolutely great and peaceful corner of the world with very low population density and a lot of lakes and forests and castles. So very romantic.
All right. Thanks for doing this interview. I had a great time talking to you again.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I had a great time making conversation about my country, and feel free to invite me again anytime.
All right. Thanks for watching this video. Click the like button, post a comment below, and please consider making a donation to this YouTube channel, as YouTube has mass demonetized all my videos. And please support my sponsor, Patriotic Flags, the online flag store, patriotic-flags.com. And click the subscribe button. New video every few days.